Amiga presents a Playguide video review. Sit back and enjoy the show.
Hey there, welcome to a very special one-off Lemon Amiga Playguide and review. In this week's episode, we'll be checking out California games developed by Epix and released on the Amiga in 1988. You can see this is a special episode. It will not contain much of all we usually get with the Playguides, like the comparison zone, and we've covered most of these guys already with my Commodore 64 review of this very game. And all these guys virtually are from the Commodore 64 game, and there are a few guys which converted this game from Westwood Associates, who went on to create Dune 2, of course, and Dune Games and Westwood are still very much alive to this day. Epix went on to create the Lynx with a couple of Amiga designers, and Epix unfortunately faded away. So here we go, this game opens with some music and the Commodore 64 title sequence slightly polished up and some music to go along with it. I had this game on the Commodore 64 and I thought that was a very good version indeed, so let's now check out the Amiga version. From the options menu, we can play all of the events, some of the events, or just one event, which will all go onto the high scores page you can see at the bottom, and we can also practice one event as well. The high scores do save on the WHD load version, which is absolutely great, and I'm not quite sure whether the ADFs do as well. Selecting the one-player game, we can then input our name and we can choose from a number of representative icons there. Some of those are real, Kawasaki and Casio, probably not licensed of course, and Ocean Pacific, with much of the rest made up names of course, but I always tend to go for Ocean Pacific. We can then enter a number of players or just press the enter key to play the one player mode, and now we'll play all of those events, those 6 events in sequence after somewhat of a long loading pause. California Games is an NTSC game, so I have chosen an NTSC setup using an original 90s CRT for this, so let's see if that rips, and as you can see it's full screen and 4.3 aspect ratio. By pressing fire we can move off our platform, and that means that we can attempt to do the first of the events, that's the ramp, and all we have to do is to observe the markers on the floor of that ramp and turn within those markers, and then we'll get some score. If we can't, unfortunately we'll fall off that board, and you'll probably see most players falling off that board unless they get the formula absolutely perfect. If they can get the formula perfect, then you can rack off thousands in a matter of seconds, but if you mistime that, then unfortunately you'll be off that board, and I think you get 3, maybe 4 lives in this particular event. Let's press fire again and let's see if we can get a good combo going. All we have to do is to tap the controller in the desired direction. Do not hold it, otherwise you'll overcook that maneuver, and don't just really tap it very quickly, otherwise that will do nothing. And sometimes when you can see me doing nothing in this very game, I've actually tapped too quickly, and you can see by gaining some kind of chain reaction we can gain 2,000 points in a matter of seconds. But of course if we don't get anything by pulling off any maneuvers, then our score will remain static. At the end of each event, we'll gain some kind of high score readout, and because we are the only ones playing in this particular event, in this particular challenge, then we'll always come first in that table. In this case, we've managed to gain 2,610 points, and that will be added to the high scores if we've managed to break a high score, but unfortunately we didn't manage to do that on that particular event. Let's move on. This is the second event, this is the foot bag, and yet again it only gives us 1 minute 15 seconds to get through this, and here again we'll have to chain manoeuvres together in terms of score. All we have to do is to keep that thing in air, and as soon as we catch that thing, either hitting that thing on the head, tapping that thing on the leg, or simply turning around and managing to hit that in some kind of way, then we'll gain some score. And if we do that by turning around on the spot, then we'll gain a half axle, and if we turn completely around before we hit that thing again, we'll gain a full axle. And by hitting it over the head, then we'll gain gestures and dizzy deans and things like that. But unfortunately it's very difficult to get a sequence together, and if we do that 5 times we'll actually get a 5 in a row as well, but it's not actually possible to catch that thing if it's bouncing too far offline, and I'm actually trying to do a gesture at the moment. You have to stand by that and hit that on the side, and then hit that on the other side as it passes through. And yes, the wildlife can give you a bit more bonus score as well, but you can see not much action going on in that bay, and we don't have a boat bobbing up and down like the C64 version either. So I feel even though the Amiga version is good, the 64 version of this particular event was better. You see a breakdown of our scores at the very end of that round, and we can gain some significant score, maybe up to 20,000 points. My 12,630 isn't amazing, but fortunately for me it is at least better than my previous attempt at that particular event. And if we wait around long enough we will gain confirmation of that. Yes, I maxed out our score, and that supersedes my 3,390 I scored previously. After some more loading, which is at least a lot better than the Commodore 64 tape load multi-load version, we gain the next event, and that's probably my least favourite of all. That's the surfing. Like all the other events in California games, there is precious little to do with the surfing, except you can crest the wave, and you have to enter that crest at the same angle as you left it, and if you manage to do that, then you'll manage to hop over the crest and save yourself a life. And yes, again, I think we have 3 or 4 continued lives on this game, and if you manage to get through the event within that, then you can get through to the end, and hopefully to the end of that timer. If you stay right at the top, of course, you won't die, but you won't gain any score either, which in this case is handed out by a few reprobates hanging around on the beach, which we'll find at the end of the event. And sometimes you can gain extra score by going under this tunnel effect and riding that wave, and you can see a nice albatross as well, and that's taken from the Commodore 64 version, but unfortunately it's very difficult to get out of that tunnel once you get into it, and so that's one of the tricks that you can do. You can also loop the loop, not that that gives you any more score, and again that returns us back to riding the crest of the wave. And I think you gain a little more action if you manage to resist dying all the way to the end, but I'm not quite sure, and I can't actually resist that opportunity. So as we get towards the end, let's see if we can do a few more tunnel hopping sequences, and unfortunately with 3 seconds to go we fail. That gives us a maximum of 2.8 scored in that particular event, which is quite abysmal, as you will agree, because 2.8 only works out to 2.8 in real score. And you can see a few zeros there, which means we could have got the thousands, but at least that's an improvement over the 2.6 I scored last time. Let's move on to the next event. It's skating, and it's a lot better than the previous one. At least it gives you more to do, and it's one of my other favourite events in this game. Skating event, we take control of a very nice bikini laden lady, and what we have to do is to skate along the sidewalk, and we will gain some kind of parallax effect for doing that. and yet again my ripper isn't amazing at scrolling, but as you can see, when we pass an object we'll gain 10 points for doing that, and if we do a few turns before we pass an object, sometimes that's worth 20, and if we jump and perform a few manoeuvres, you can see a nice blue bikini waiting to trip us over. If we collide into that, we'll lose a life, but if we don't, then that will award us some score. And even blades of grass in this game do give us 10 points, and we'll have to jump over everything, including ice cream cones and mere cracks in the pavement, including bus tickets, and you can see no dogs allowed. And I've no idea why there is a pink water bottle there, maybe a hot water bottle or whatever that is supposed to be, but there is no Casio radios and all the great things that we found on the Commodore 64 version. You can see some great plant life in the background, and unfortunately the waves don't move in and out, and you can see lots of things to jump over, which is pretty annoying because it's pretty hard to manoeuvre your way up and down the screen. Sometimes the screen simply moves you to the top of it and you can't stop it for some reason, just like this, and when you try to recover from that thing, that seems to be a bug, then you'll simply fall over the environment. Luckily we can hop down a step and that saves us trying to jump over the whole thing, which is great, but sometimes it's just a hope and a jump effort, even jumping over a puddle of water that seems to be on a California floor. But apart from that, halfway through the level it gives us a nice break where we can perform a few manoeuvres and simply skate down that sidewalk like that we're supposed to do originally, but then we find a few stones in the way and that hampers our manoeuvres. Gain extra bonus if we make it all the way into town off the edge of that sidewalk, but unfortunately we didn't make it, so we get a puny score as a result of that, and that's 520 points, which is not again my high score, and I have scored maybe 2000 on that particular event. I think the graphics are much improved on the Amiga and maybe even the controlling method as well. But talking about the controlling method, here we go with the 5th event. This is the BMX racing, and this is definitely my favourite and certainly the easiest of all the events. And just riding along unfortunately won't gain you any score, as you can see right there, but by jumping and bunny hopping over things, that will give us some points. From there, it's just a matter of staying fairly central to the course and hitting that fire button, and if you can time that to perfection, you can jump over every obstacle in your way and try to get your way all the way to the end of this course, where we'll gain some points for the time remaining. Anybody who's seen the Simpsons episode where the BMX simply turns cartwheels on the spot, well yes, you can do that, but if that method fails one time in 10 or one time in 100, you've just written off a life, and so I find simply getting to the end of that track to be the ultimate goal, and that's certainly much easier, and there we go with a massive score and some time remaining in the bank. That's the end of the BMX, and you may be surprised to know that that's probably one of my fastest, if not the fastest, that I've ever completed that. And yes, you can get more score by doing loop-the-loops, but I don't tend to do risky manoeuvres like that. So here we go on to the confirmation screen, where we can see that it is our highest high score, 26,279 points, and on to the 6th and the final event on the California Games disc. Final event is the flying disc, otherwise known as the frisbee, although that's a copyright word so they probably couldn't use that, and all you have to do is to pull left and get that thing into the speed zone, into the green marker on the left, and then pull the controller to the right and into the angle zone on the other side. All you have to do is hit the greens on either side, and that's the launch completed, and then all you have to do is to catch that missile when it reaches the other side. To help you, you'll have a woman and she'll run around and grab that thing if it's anywhere in the vicinity. Otherwise, you can wait until that thing is around her waist level, press that fire button and she'll make a jump for it just like that. Despite these wonderful graphics, I feel like this is the second easiest event in the entire calendar, and it's not very hard to complete and get the maximum score, which is around 2,000 points. The game will then print out a very nice final results page and show the winner of this entire competition, which in this case is me because I'm the only one in there, and then after all of that it will actually print the scores of the previous event and it will show you if you've actually got through and beaten your previous score, which seems kind of weird to me. California Games has a 7.6 rating on the Amiga database, and I can reveal that Ace magazine gave this 63%, CU gave it 84, Amiga Power Issue 2 only gave it 51, The One gave it 71%, and 022 gave it 85%, which brings the average around 7 out of 10, which still makes this a good game, and if only they'd tightened up the controls slightly and made the surfing slightly more interesting. So that's my Lemon Amiga gameplay video review for California Games. This was never meant to be a proper Lemon Amiga review, but because we are playing this in the Lemon Amiga competition right now, I thought I'd promote this and show you what this game is all about. Thank you once again, and see you again very soon.